Hey y'all, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and today what I want to talk about is the Nikon Z50, and this is kind of a rebuttal to Tony Northrop's video about how he thinks it's a failure. I'm gonna have to put my glasses back on for this because I gotta be able to see my notes. I've got notes about it. The points that he made were valid to some degree, but I think marketing at Nikon probably knows better than he does about what's going on with their camera systems. He's saying the Z mount is overkill. And technically for an APS-C sensor, yeah, it's overkill. But look at it from Nikon's perspective. They're standardizing on a new mount flange. Going forward, all of their lenses will be designed around this new mount flange into perpetuity. They're moving to this new Z mount. There's no value in spending engineering resources designing lenses for a smaller mount. And even if you did put the F mount lenses on the new Z50, now you have cross compatibility issues. See, they're walking you into the full frame, Z6, Z7, and whatever's coming soon by getting you the APS-C body that's really cheap. The full frame glass fits it. So that gives you the opportunity to buy the APS-C lenses, which is the typical lenses that Nikon mounts. That's on my list here. Those lenses are zoom lenses. 99% of the people I see that use the consumer grade DSLRs like the D3300s or the D5600 or a D40X. I have a D40X. Those people that buy those cameras typically buy wide angle to mid-range zoom, and then they'll get that it's 18 to 55, and then they'll get that 50 to 300 or whatever, because they're looking at millimeters. They're not really looking at the f-stop, and they don't fully understand a lot of times what that f number on the lens means. They just see 50 to 300. This thing will zoom way out there. That's what they're seeing. That robin's back. 90% of the people that buy these lenses also never take the camera either off of automatic or program mode. Some of them might venture over to program mode, but almost none of them venture into aperture priority, shutter priority, or especially manual. They use the camera because they think it'll get them better pictures than their phone. And even in auto mode, usually it will, because it has a larger sensor, so it captures more information. And the camera does a pretty good job of figuring the exposure for you in just general scenarios. The lenses they chose to bring out make perfect sense to me. They're targeting a very specific demographic with this camera. They're not targeting pros or YouTubers or any of that crap. They're looking at the big picture. How do we get the new photographers who have a phone into a camera with an interchangeable lens system? Yeah, the Z mount is fine. There's nothing wrong with the mount that they chose. Yeah, it'll make the bodies of the lenses bigger. Doesn't matter. The lenses are going to be plastic. They're going to weigh practically nothing anyway. And it gives them room for the autofocus and the image stabilization mechanisms in the lens. Another thing Tony brings up is that he's done tests where he's proved that FX lenses on a DX sensor don't produce the best image quality. For some reason, he's convinced himself that this is true.
Also confusion about using full-frame lenses on APS-C bodies. Yes, that works and you don't have to use a small cropped portion of the sensor, but you don't realize the full benefit of the lens. You get less sharp images than you would if you were using a full-frame camera.
The lens doesn't know what camera body it's attached to, so if you attach it to an FX camera and take a photo with it, it's going to project the same information onto the sensor plane that it would if you snapped it on a DX camera. It's common sense, okay? And then later on in his video, he contradicts himself when he says that they can move into those FX or those full frame lenses like the 51.4 or something. And it gives room for expansion. He talks about that a little bit later in the video.
So it's easy for me to point out things that I think are wrong, but what would I do differently? I would have made the world's first mirrorless F-mount body, and that would give them immediate access with no adapter to the entire F-mount lens collection that they've been building since the Z50s. And
the point being is that they can get those full frame lenses and put them on that DX camera and it won't cause any problem. It'll work perfectly fine. I just don't understand the logic behind that, because FX glass is going to project the same circle of light on every sensor plane that the lens is attached to. It can't pick and choose based on the camera it's connected to. Oh look, this is a DX camera, I'm gonna have to project crappier light. No, that ain't how that works at all. And last but not least, his belief was that this camera should have came out with the old F mount on it, and that way you could basically use the F mount glass, and there is a lot of autofocus G series F mount glass out there to use with these cameras. He says that the adapter is cost prohibitive. Well, it really is, but it isn't at the same time. For instance, they want to get, once they get the camera and they get one or two of those zoom lenses that fits the Z mount, and they want to experiment. It won't take them long to figure out. They can buy that little adapter, and then they can get a used G-series lens or even a brand new G-series lens and just to connect it to that camera, and it's going to give them beautiful images. There's a whole bunch of glass that's just waiting to be attached to these little cameras. These cameras are going to be lightweight. They're going to have exceptional autofocus. They're going to take incredibly good images. They're going to have great dynamic range. Everything's going to be nice with these cameras. I'm a big proponent of, my light just went out. Found the power cord. Now that this is back on and operating, the Nikon Z50 is like gonna be, I'm a Nikon guy, so I'm a little biased. It's gonna be the perfect camera for someone just starting out in photography. They have a lot of potential with this camera. So I don't know why Tony thinks it's such a bad thing. I really don't see it. It looks like it's a great idea to me for Nikon to do this, because it's an entry-level camera in their new Z mount that gets people interested in their camera system. This makes sense. Leave me a comment. Do you think that I'm wrong? Do you think Tony's right? Do you think Nikon's marketing department has figured it out? Do you think that they've dropped the ball? Appreciate y'all watching, like and subscribe and all of that stuff if y'all enjoy the video and you want to see more from the channel. If you want to know when the videos come out, there's a little bell symbol down there you have to click. With that, this is David, the Georgia photographer. Appreciate you watching. We'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye.